Shadows of a Fallen World. The ash-laden wind stung Nova Hayes' eyes as she peered through her cracked binoculars, from her perch atop the skeletal remains of what was once a skyscraper in New Angeles. She surveyed the alien patrol units scanning the debris below. Their segmented exoskeletons glinted under the blood-red sun, and their scanning appendages probed methodically through the rubble. Still looking for survivors, Nova whispered to herself, adjusting the worn military jacket that hung loosely over her frame. 6 months since the Xeraxian Collective had declared Earth cleansed, and they were still hunting. 6 months since she'd heard another human voice. She slipped back into the shadows, moving through the building's gutted interior with practiced silence. Her makeshift shelter was 20 floors below, concealed behind a collapsed wall that the alien scanners couldn't penetrate. Something about the mineral composition confused their sensors, a small mercy in a world bereft of them. Nova checked her supplies. 3 water purification tablets, half a protein bar, and 7 bullets for a gun that jammed every third shot. Stellar, she muttered, running her hand through her dirt-matted auburn hair. Tonight would require another scavenging run. Darkness fell mercifully fast. Nova navigated the urban graveyard by memory, each step calculated to minimize noise. The Xeraxians relied heavily on sound detection during night patrols. Their bioengineered bodies were perfectly adapted for hunting, an irony not lost on Nova, whose military training had once specialized in tracking extraterrestrial threats. Now she was the prey. The abandoned research facility loomed ahead, its shattered dome a jagged crown against the starless sky. Intelligence had suggested that Dr. Alara Weiss had been developing something there. A weapon, perhaps, or a communication device. Something that might have changed the outcome of the war, had it been deployed in time. Nova slipped through a fissure in the facility's outer wall, her night vision goggles illuminating the destruction within. The Xeraxians had been thorough but hasty. Maybe they'd missed something. 3 hours of searching yielded precious little. Some sealed ration packs, a medkit with synthetic skin grafts, and half a dozen energy cells. She was about to leave when her foot dislodged a section of flooring, revealing a small compartment beneath. "Hello, what have we here?" Nova whispered, retrieving a metallic cylindrical object about the size of her forearm. It was surprisingly warm to the touch, its surface etched with symbols that seemed to shift under her gaze. A distant screech froze her blood. Patrol units closing in. Nova secured her findings and slipped out through a ventilation shaft, barely escaping as the alien searchers converged on the facility. Back in her shelter, Nova examined the artifact. It pulsed with a faint blue light that responded to her touch. As her fingers traced one of the symbols, a holographic display erupted from its core. Not of star charts or weapon schematics as she'd hoped, but of a creature. Massive serpentine with iridescent scales and wings that seemed to fold dimensions. "What were you working on, Weiss?" Nova murmured. The hologram distorted suddenly and the cylinder grew hot in her hands. Pain lanced through her arms as the symbols from the artifact began appearing on her skin, burning bright before fading into tattoo-like markings. Nova bit back a scream, dropping the device. It rolled across the floor, its light now pulsing in rhythm with her racing heart. A voice, ancient, resonant, impossible, filled her mind. "I have slept for eons, awaiting one who could bear my mark. The extinction of your kind has awakened old magics." "Who? What are you?" Nova gasped. "I am Kaldor, guardian of realms between stars. Your world stands at a precipice, not of ending, but of transformation." Outside, alarm signals wailed. The Xeraxians had detected the energy surge. "They come. We must flee, Nova Hayes, last defender of Earth." "How do you know my name? How are we supposed to escape?" "There's nowhere left to go. Not on this plane," the voice replied as the artifact dissolved into pure light, flowing into the markings on Nova's skin. "But I can show you paths between worlds." The shelter wall burst inward as Xeraxian enforcers breached the perimeter. Nova backed away, reaching for her unreliable weapon. A shimmering tear opened in the air behind her. Not mechanical like the aliens' portals, but organic, rippling like water. Through it she glimpsed verdant landscapes and twin moons. "Choose, Nova Hayes. Death in the ashes of your world or life beyond it." The lead enforcer raised its disintegration lance. Nova stepped backward into the rift and reality folded around her like wings. The Burning Sky Alliance Nova tumbled through the dimensional rift, a scream trapped in her throat as reality twisted around her. When the vertigo subsided, She found herself sprawled on a surface that felt like grass but shimmered with prismatic hues. 2 moons hung in an indigo sky, casting silver light across an alien landscape. "Where am I?" she gasped, struggling to her feet. A sanctuary world, Kaldor's voice resonated in her mind. One of many the Zeraxians have yet to discover. The markings on Nova's arms pulsed with gentle blue light. She traced them with her fingertips, still not quite believing what had happened. "Are there others here?" "Other humans?" "Not only humans," Kaldor replied. "Many species fleeing Zeraxian expansion have found refuge here. The Resistance calls this place Haven." As if on cue, lights appeared on the horizon, moving in formation too precise to be natural. Nova instinctively dropped to a crouch, military training taking over. "They are not enemies," Kaldor assured her. "But caution is wise. Not all who oppose the collective share the same vision for what comes after." The lights resolved into hovercrafts, sleek and silent compared to the clunky Zeraxian vessels. They surrounded Nova, casting spotlights that made her squint. A voice boomed through an amplifier. "Identify yourself and state your origin." "Nova Hayes, Combat Specialist, Earth Defense Force," she called back, shielding her eyes. "Last survivor of Earth as far as I know." Silence followed. Then the largest craft descended, touching down 20 paces away. Its hatch opened with a pneumatic hiss and a figure emerged. Humanoid, but definitely not human. Tall and lithe with coppery skin that reflected the moonlight, the being approached with a measured gait. "Earth was declared cleansed by the collective months ago," the alien said in perfect English, though its mouth didn't move in sync with the words. Some kind of translation technology, Nova realized. "How did you escape detection? And more importantly, how did you find Haven?" "We have no portal signatures registered." Nova hesitated, unsure how much to reveal about Kaldor. "Tell them," the voice encouraged. "They are the Burning Sky Alliance. Old allies of my kind before we retreated from this dimension." "I had help," Nova said, rolling up her sleeve to reveal the glowing markings. "From someone named Kaldor." The alien's 4 eyes widened. It immediately dropped to one knee, a gesture of such unexpected reverence that Nova took a step back. "A void touched," the alien whispered, "after all this time." The next hours passed in a blur as Nova was escorted to an underground city carved into a massive crystalline formation. The Alliance, she learned, was comprised of refugees from 100 worlds, all victims of the Zeraxian collective's relentless expansion. In a chamber lined with holographic displays showing star systems and battle reports, Nova met the Alliance leadership. Most were species she'd never seen before, with the exception of 3 other humans, diplomats who had been off-world during Earth's fall. One figure stood apart from the others, studying her with unnerving intensity. Unlike the others who wore utilitarian uniforms, he was clad in battle-scarred armor with a crimson cloak draped over one shoulder. Not fully human, yet not entirely alien either. His features were sharp, eyes an unsettling amber with vertical pupils, and skin that held a subtle blue undertone. "Commander Rexon Voss," he introduced himself, voice a low rumble. "Tactical operations." "Half Terran, half Lyran," offered the copper-skinned alien who'd first greeted Nova. "And entirely insufferable." A slight smirk tugged at Rexon's lips. "General Sylara exaggerates. I'm only insufferable during strategy sessions." He turned his attention back to Nova. "You bear the mark of the Celestial Guardians. Do you understand what that means?" Nova shook her head. "Kaldor only said that Earth's extinction awakened old magics." Rexon's expression darkened. "The Guardians were thought extinct themselves. They were beings of immense power who once kept balance among the cosmic forces. The Zeraxians hunted them to near extinction centuries ago." His eyes lingered on her markings. "If one has bonded with you, it changes everything." General Sylara stepped forward. "The collective doesn't just terraform worlds, Nova Hayes. They harvest their core energies for a purpose we've yet to discern. Earth was their 73rd conquest. And you've been fighting them all this time?" Nova asked. "Fighting, hiding, surviving," Rexon said, the bitterness in his voice unmistakable. "Losing, mostly." "Until now," Sylara interjected. "With a Guardian, we might finally have a chance." Nova felt the weight of their expectations pressing down on her. "I don't even know what I'm supposed to do with this connection." Rexan's eyes met hers. "Then we'll help you figure it out. Starting tomorrow." That night, Nova was given quarters near the city's core. The room was sparse but comfortable, more luxury than she'd known since the invasion began. As she stood at the window overlooking the crystalline structures of the hidden city, Rexon appeared in her doorway. "The others think you're our salvation," he said without preamble, leaning against the frame. "A living weapon to turn against the collective." "And what do you think?" Nova asked, turning to face him. "I think you're a soldier who watched her world die. I think you're dangerous, desperate, and probably damaged beyond repair." He stepped closer, just like the rest of us. There was something in his directness that Nova found oddly comforting after months of isolation. "That's the most honest welcome I've received so far." A ghost of a smile crossed his features. "We start training at dawn. The connection you have with the Guardian, it can be weaponized. I've seen it before with others who bore lesser marks. What happened to them?" The smile vanished. "They burned too bright, too fast. After he left." Nova pressed her hand against the window, watching the markings pulse in rhythm with her heartbeat. "He fears what he does not understand," Kaldor observed. "He fears what he understands all too well," Nova corrected. "That's something I can work with." As she drifted to sleep that night, Nova dreamed of Earth's ashes reforming into wings of fire, and of amber eyes watching her from shadows between stars. Whispers from the void. The training arena pulsed with ambient energy that made Nova's skin tingle. For 3 weeks, she had been working with Rexon and a team of Alliance scientists to understand and strengthen her connection with Kaldor. Progress had been frustratingly slow. "Again," Rexon commanded from across the chamber. "Focus on the energy flow, not just the physical manifestation." Nova exhaled sharply, centering herself as she'd been taught. The markings on her arms ignited with blue light that spread to her fingertips. She directed the energy toward the series of targets, crystalline structures that absorbed and measured power output. The first target shattered satisfyingly. The second cracked. The third remained stubbornly intact. "Better," Rexon acknowledged, approaching with his usual measured stride. "But you're still thinking like a soldier with a weapon, not a conduit for something greater." "Easy for you to say," Nova muttered, wiping sweat from her brow. "You're not the one with an ancient cosmic entity living under your skin." "I take offense to that characterization." Kaldor's voice hummed with amusement in her mind. Over the weeks, their communication had become clearer, more conversational. Rexon circled her, assessing. In their time together, Nova had learned to read the subtle shifts in his expression. The slight narrowing of his eyes when he was impressed but trying not to show it. The almost imperceptible curl at the corner of his mouth when she surprised him. "The Guardian isn't a weapon you wield," he said, stopping directly behind her. His proximity sent an unexpected warmth cascading down her spine. "It's a partnership. The energy flows both ways." Nova turned to face him. "Show me." A challenge flickered in his amber eyes. Rexon rarely spoke of his own abilities, though rumors abounded among Alliance members about his combat prowess. He hesitated, then nodded once. "Step back." Nova complied, watching as Rexon closed his eyes. The air around him seemed to thicken, distort. When his eyes reopened, they blazed with golden fire. He lifted his hand and shadow-like energy coalesced around it. Not channeled from an external source, but emanating from within. With a fluid motion that spoke of years of practice, he directed the energy toward the remaining targets. They didn't just break. They disintegrated, turned to fine dust that sparkled as it settled. That wasn't just tactical training, Nova observed, impressed despite herself. "You have a connection too." Rexon's energy dissipated, leaving him looking momentarily drained. "Not like yours. Mine is artificial, engineered." His jaw tightened. "A parting gift from the collective's experimentation before the Alliance rescued me." The revelation hung between them, opening a window into his earlier bitterness. Before Nova could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. "Perimeter breach," Rexon snapped, instantly alert. "Level 3. They raced to the command center where General Sylara was coordinating the defense. Holographic displays showed a small Xeraxian scout vessel that had somehow penetrated Haven's atmospheric cloaking. "How did they find us?" Nova demanded. "They didn't," Sylara replied grimly. "Not intentionally. It's a damaged scout, likely blind jumping to escape something else. But if they transmit our coordinates back to the collective, they won't," Rexon stated with cold certainty. "I'll lead the intercept team." "I'm coming with you," Nova insisted. Rexon started to object, but Sylara intervened. "Take her. This is the field test we've been waiting for. 30 minutes later, Nova found herself in a stealth skiff with Rexon and 4 Alliance specialists, racing toward the crashed Xeraxian vessel. The jungle terrain where it had landed was already showing signs of contamination, vegetation withering in concentric circles from the ship's toxic emissions. Remember, Rexon instructed as they prepared to disembark. Their neural network operates on a high frequency. Kill one and others nearby will know immediately. So we don't kill them, Nova concluded. We disable their communication array first. Rexon gave her an appraising look. Exactly. The mission proceeded with precision until they reached the ship's core. While the team worked to disable the beacon, Nova sensed a disturbance. Something about the ship's interior structure seemed wrong. Deception, Kaldor warned. This vessel was sacrificed deliberately. Rexon, Nova called urgently. It's a trap. Too late. Hidden compartments in the walls slid open, revealing dormant Xeraxian soldiers. Not scouts, elite hunters. What followed was chaos. The Alliance team fought valiantly but was quickly overwhelmed. Nova watched in horror as 2 specialists fell to the aliens' sonic weapons. Cornered and desperate, she reached deep into her connection with Kaldor. I need more than just energy projections. Then surrender to the bond fully, Kaldor replied. Let me manifest through you. Nova made her choice. She released the mental barriers she'd maintained, allowing Kaldor's essence to flow freely through her body. The transformation was exhilarating and terrifying. Her perception expanded, her physical strength multiplied. A translucent wing-like aura emerged from her back. With newfound power, she tore through the Xeraxian ranks, moving faster than their targeting systems could track. Rexon fought beside her, his shadow abilities complementing her light-based attacks in a deadly dance. When the last enemy fell, Nova collapsed, the manifestation fading. Rexon caught her before she hit the ground. That was reckless, he said, but the concern in his voice belied the criticism. It worked, didn't it? She managed weakly. Their eyes met and something shifted between them, respect evolving into something more complex. Rexon's hand lingered on her waist as he helped her stand. The ship was sent to find something, Nova said as they ensured the beacon was truly disabled. They already knew about Haven. Rexon's expression darkened. Which means we have a security breach. Back at the Alliance headquarters, their report was met with grave concern. While the immediate threat was neutralized, the implications were dire. That night, unable to sleep, Nova found Rexon alone in the strategic planning room. Poring over intelligence reports, you should be resting, he said without looking up. That level of Guardian manifestation takes a toll. So does suspecting everyone around you of betrayal, Nova countered, sliding into the seat across from him. Any leads? He finally met her gaze. Maybe. There's a pattern to the information leaks, all centered around projects involving Guardian lore. They're tracking Kaldor, Nova realized. Or others like him. Which makes you their primary target now, Rexon said, his voice dropping to a near whisper. He reached across the table, his fingers brushing hers, a gesture so unexpected it momentarily stole her breath. We can't lose you, Nova. The intensity in his eyes made it clear the concern wasn't purely strategic. Nova turned her hand, capturing his fingers with hers. You won't, she promised, the connection between them deepening with unspoken feelings as the twin moons cast silver shadows across their entwined hands. The Shattered Throne. The mothership of the Xeraxian collective loomed in the viewport like a malevolent star, a massive structure of biomechanical design that defied conventional engineering. Operation Sundering, as the Alliance had designated their desperate mission, was now in its final phase. Nova stood on the bridge of the Alliance's flagship, the Defiance, studying the tactical display. 2 months of preparation had led to this moment, a coordinated strike against the heart of the collective's power. The infiltration team is ready, Rexon reported, joining her at the display. His armor was different today, lighter, optimized for stealth rather than direct combat. Silara's diversionary fleet will engage their outer defenses in 30 minutes. Nova nodded, her focus unwavering from the display. Their intelligence, carefully pieced together after uncovering the spy in their ranks, had revealed the true purpose of the collective's campaign of planetary destruction. Deep within the mothership was a device called the Genesis engine, technology capable of restructuring reality itself, powered by the harvested energy of conquered worlds. 73 worlds, Nova murmured. Earth was just one more battery for their apocalypse machine. Rexon's hand found hers, a brief, reassuring pressure. Not the last one. Not if we succeed today. Their relationship had evolved in the crucible of shared danger and purpose. Neither had spoken of it directly. There was no time for such luxuries, in a war for survival. But in quiet moments, in lingering glances and brief touches, something profound had taken root. The neural dampeners should keep the collective from detecting Kaldor's energy signature until we're inside, Nova said, checking the specialized equipment one final time. After that, we'll have minutes at most before they locate us. I can shield my presence, but not indefinitely, Kaldor confirmed in her mind. The Guardian's manifestations had grown stronger with practice. Nova could now sustain partial transformations for extended periods, though full integration remained taxing. Just get us to the engine chamber, Rexon told her, his eyes holding hers for a moment longer than necessary. The rest will follow. Their small infiltration craft launched under the cover of the Defiance's stealth field. As they approached the behemoth mothership, Nova marveled at its terrible beauty. The external hull was composed of overlapping plates that shifted and realigned continuously, like the scales of some cosmic serpent. Approaching entry point, their pilot announced. Brace for insertion. The craft shuddered as it slipped through a maintenance portal, barely evading the organic sensors that lined the opening. Once inside, they navigated through cavernous channels that served as the ship's circulatory system. Remember, Nova addressed the 6-person team as they prepared to disembark. Our objective is the engine. Everything else is secondary. They moved through the ship's interior like ghosts, avoiding patrols and disabling security nodes. Kaldor's energy, carefully contained by the dampeners, allowed Nova to sense the ship's neural pathways, distinguishing vital systems from decoys. 3 levels and 7 security checkpoints later, they encountered their first real resistance. A squad of Xeraxian elites, their bodies enhanced with cybernetic augmentations, blocked their path to the central chambers. I'll draw them off, Rexon decided after assessing the situation. The rest of you continue to the engine. That's suicide, Nova hissed, pulling him aside. Even with your abilities, it's strategy, he cut her off. Your connection to Kaldor is our only chance of disabling the engine. I'm making the logical choice. Before she could protest further, he gripped her shoulders and pulled her close, his lips finding hers in a fierce, desperate kiss. Find me after, he whispered against her mouth. That's an order, Hayes. Then he was gone, shadow energy swirling around him as he charged the enemy position. The distraction worked. The team slipped past while the elites pursued Rexon through a different corridor. The Genesis engine chamber was a vast spherical space at the ship's core. Suspended in the center was a construct of impossible geometry, angles that hurt the eye to follow, pulsing with the stolen energy of destroyed worlds. Around it, Xeraxian scientists worked at control stations, oblivious to the intruders. Begin the placement, Nova instructed the team. They dispersed, setting quantum disruptors at key points while she approached the engine itself. It is an abomination. Kaldor's voice resonated with ancient rage. They have torn holes in the fabric of dimensions. Nova removed her dampeners, allowing Kaldor's energy to flow freely. The markings on her skin blazed with blue fire that spread across her body. Wings of pure energy manifested from her back as she rose into the air. The Xeraxians finally noticed the intrusion, sounding alarms that echoed throughout the chamber. Nova paid them no mind. Her consciousness was merging with Kaldor's, seeing the engine not just physically but across dimensional planes. There, she identified the nexus point, directing the team's demolition expert. That's where all the harvested energy converges. As the disruptors were armed, chaos erupted. Elite guards poured into the chamber. The team fought valiantly, but they were outnumbered. Nova watched in horror as they fell one by one, buying time with their lives. With a cry of determination, she channeled Kaldor's power directly into the engine's core. disrupting its carefully balanced energies. The reaction was immediate and catastrophic. Reality itself seemed to fracture around the device. Detonation. In 30 seconds, announced the automated voice of the last disruptor. Nova had to escape, but her thoughts were with Rexon. She reached out with Kaldor's senses, searching for him through the ship's labyrinthine structure. There, a fading pulse of shadow energy 3 levels down, surrounded by hostiles. She fought her way through the ship's disintegrating corridors, the mothership already beginning to break apart as the engine destabilized. When she found Rexon, he was badly wounded, continuing to fight despite injuries that would have killed a lesser being. The engine? He gasped as she dispatched his remaining attackers. Collapsing. We have minutes before this entire ship follows. She helped him to his feet, supporting his weight as they staggered toward the extraction point. All around them, the mothership was tearing itself apart, structural supports failing as the dimensional energies ran wild. They were almost to the hangar bay when the floor beneath them gave way. Nova grabbed a hanging conduit with one hand, Rexon's wrist with the other. Below them yawned a chasm of swirling energy, the dying engine's death throes reaching throughout the ship. "Let go," Rexon urged, looking up at her. Blood streaked his face, but his eyes were clear. "You can still make it." "Not happening," Nova gritted out, her muscles straining. "Nova." His voice softened. "It's okay." The conduit creaked, beginning to tear loose from the ceiling. Nova looked into Rexon's eyes one last time, memorizing every detail of his face. "Find me after," she echoed his earlier words. Then with all her remaining strength, she swung him toward a stable platform several meters away. As he landed safely, the conduit finally gave way. Nova fell, Kaldor's wings flaring around her in a last attempt at salvation. The last thing she saw was Rexon's anguished face as the dimensional rift below swallowed her whole. Ascension of flames. The void between dimensions knew neither time nor space. For what might have been moments or millennia, Nova drifted in a state beyond consciousness, her essence preserved only by her bond with Kaldor. "You must choose." The Guardian's voice echoed through the emptiness. To remain here in stasis or to return transformed. Memories flashed before her. Earth in flames, the Alliance fighting against impossible odds, Rexon's face as she fell into the rift. The choice was never really a question. "Show me the way back," Nova answered. "Whatever it costs." Light exploded around her as Kaldor's true form manifested fully for the first time. A colossal serpentine being with scales like living gems and wings that spanned realities. The Guardian enveloped her in its radiance, their separate consciousnesses merging into something new and extraordinary. "The way back requires a vessel worthy of containing our combined essence," Kaldor explained. "I offer my form, reshaped by our union. The transformation was beyond pain, beyond pleasure, a fundamental rewriting of existence itself." When awareness returned, Nova found herself soaring through the space between stars, her body now a synthesis of human and Guardian. Massive wings propelled her through the cosmos, scales gleaming with the light of distant suns. Yet her core consciousness remained her own, enhanced but undiminished. She was Kaldor, and Kaldor was her. Together, they were something the universe had never seen before. "How long?" she asked, sensing the flow of time once more. 3 of your months have passed in the physical realm," came the reply from what was now a part of herself. "The war continues. The engine's destruction was a grievous blow to the collective, but not a fatal one." Nova focused her new senses, searching across vast distances for the resonance of the Alliance fleet. When she found it, she folded space around herself, crossing light years in an instant. The Alliance's new headquarters had been established on a rogue planet in the shadows between star systems. As Nova approached in her transformed state, defense systems activated, tracking her as an unknown entity. "They cannot recognize what we have become," Kaldor observed. "We must show them." Nova concentrated, drawing her expansive energy inward until her form shimmered and contracted. The process was disorienting, like trying to fit an ocean into a teacup. But gradually she reshaped herself into a semblance of her human form. Though still wreathed in iridescent scales and trailing ethereal wings, she landed at the perimeter of the base, immediately surrounded by armed guards whose weapons seemed laughably inadequate now that she understood her true power. "I am Nova Hayes," she announced, her voice resonating with harmonic undertones. "Take me to General Sylara." The reunion with the Alliance leadership was tense with disbelief. Sylara studied her with a mixture of awe and wariness. "We thought you were lost," the general said. "The engine's destruction created a cascade of dimensional anomalies. No one could have survived that." "I didn't survive it," Nova corrected. "I was reborn through it." Her gaze swept the command center. "Where is Commander Voss?" A heavy silence fell. Sylara's four eyes lowered. "After your disappearance," Rexon changed. "He leads our most dangerous missions personally, as if seeking his own end. He's currently commanding a strike force against the Collective's secondary command post in the Cygnus sector." Nova absorbed this with a pang of grief. "The mission status?" "Communications lost 12 hours ago. We're assuming the worst." Nova closed her eyes, extending her enhanced senses across the void. There, a familiar shadow energy, faint but unmistakable, surrounded by the cold signatures of Xeraxian forces. "He's alive," she declared, eyes snapping open. "Captured but alive. And I'm going to get him back." Before anyone could object, Nova released her human form, expanding once more into her guardian aspect. She tore through space toward the coordinates her senses had revealed, rage and determination fueling her flight. The Xeraxian outpost orbited a dying star. Drawing power from its unstable emissions, Nova descended upon it like a comet, her mere presence disrupting their systems. Alarms blared as she tore through the outer defenses, incinerating resistance with blasts of pure guardian energy. She found Rexon in a high-security detention block, suspended in a stasis field as Xeraxian scientists attempted to extract the secrets of his shadow abilities. At the sight of his tortured form, Nova's control slipped. The full force of her power erupted, vaporizing the entire section of the station. In the aftermath, she cradled Rexon's unconscious body, carefully enveloping him in protective energy as she transported them both back to Alliance space. He awoke 3 days later in the medical bay, his eyes widening in disbelief as they focused on Nova seated beside his bed. She had maintained a mostly human appearance for his sake, though her skin still shimmered with traces of iridescence. "I'm hallucinating," he rasped, reaching out a tentative hand to touch her face. Nova caught his fingers, pressing them to her cheek. "You ordered me to find you after," she reminded him, her voice thick with emotion. "I'm just following orders, Commander." Recognition dawned in his eyes, followed by wonder. "Nova? How?" "It's a long story." She smiled, the expression lighting her eyes with an unearthly glow, involving several dimensions and a very patient cosmic entity who's now sharing my headspace. Rexon struggled to sit up, wincing at his still healing injuries. "The Collective can wait," Nova interrupted, gently pushing him back against the pillows. "For a few hours at least." Their eyes held, 3 months of grief and longing passing between them in silence. Finally, Rexon's hand slid to the back of her neck, pulling her down until their foreheads touched. "I mourned you," he whispered. "Every day." "I know," she replied softly. "I felt it even across the void." When their lips met, it was like worlds colliding, shadow and light, despair and hope, mortal and immortal, finding impossible harmony. In the days that followed, Nova revealed the full extent of her transformation to the Alliance leadership. With her guardian powers fully manifested, she offered something beyond mere resistance, the possibility of actually defeating the Collective. The final battle came 6 weeks later. The combined Alliance fleet, led by Nova in her true form, launched a coordinated assault against the Collective's homeworld. Rexon commanded the Defiance, his shadow abilities amplified by specialized technology developed to harmonize with Nova's guardian energy. As Alliance forces engaged the Collective's outer defenses, Nova and Rexon, along with an elite strike team, penetrated to the planet's core, where the Collective Overseer, the central intelligence controlling the entire hive, resided. The chamber was a cathedral to twisted evolution, where organic and mechanical components fused in grotesque harmony. At its center loomed the Overseer, not a single entity but a collective consciousness embodied in a writhing mass of interconnected forms. "Abomination," it greeted Nova, its voice a cacophony of thousands speaking as one. "You wear the skin of a guardian, The last of their kind serves us now. Not the last, Kaldor's voice surged through Nova's consciousness. And never yours. The battle that ensued shook the planet to its foundations, while Rexan and the strike team systematically destroyed the neural nodes connecting the Overseer to its armies across the galaxy. Nova engaged the entity directly. The Overseer fought with the desperation of a dying god, unleashing weapons that distorted reality itself. But in its arrogance, it had never considered that a human bonded with a guardian would possess something neither race had alone: adaptability fused with cosmic power. Nova weathered its assault, her dual nature allowing her to shift tactics faster than the hive mind could anticipate. When the final neural node fell to Rexan's shadow blade, she struck with the full force of her guardian aspect. The Overseer's death throes rippled across the galaxy, severing the connection to every Xeraxian simultaneously. Without the centralized consciousness, the collective's forces fell into disarray, some fleeing, others simply shutting down. As the Alliance celebrated their impossible victory, Nova found Rexan on an observation deck, watching the collective homeworld reconfigure itself in the absence of its oppressive masters. "What happens now?" he asked as she joined him at the viewport. "With all that power, you could reshape worlds, restore Earth even." Nova considered this, feeling Kaldor's presence stirring with possibilities. "Earth is gone," she said finally. "But its essence lives on in me, in you, in everyone who carries its memory." She turned to face him fully. "I don't want to rule or reshape. I want to protect, to prevent another collective from rising." Rexan studied her, his amber eyes reflecting starlight. "Guardian of the galaxy," he said with a slight smile. "It suits you." "Not alone," Nova replied, taking his hand. Where their skin touched, light and shadow mingled in perfect balance. The void showed me countless dimensions, endless possibilities. Some beautiful, some terrifying, all of them connected, all of them vulnerable. Understanding dawned in Rexan's expression. "You're not staying." "Not permanently," she confirmed. "But I'll always return." She stepped closer, her forehead resting against his. "Find me after?" His arms encircled her waist, holding her as if she might disappear again at any moment. "Always," he promised. As twin suns rose over the horizon of a liberated world, Nova Hayes, last soldier of Earth and first of a new guardian lineage, embraced both her destiny and the love that anchored her to humanity. The war was over, but the universe was vast, and somewhere in the darkness between stars, new threats and wonders waited to be discovered. With Kaldor's power flowing through her veins and Rexan's shadow energy resonating with her light, she was ready for whatever came next. No longer the last of anything, but the first of something extraordinary.